Apparently, winning your case against the same criminal charges over 10 times is not enough to keep San Antonio's law enforcement from charging you with that same crime over and over. The reality is that beating these cases one at a time was treating the symptom, but ignoring the disease. This leads me to think, there's been, Leon Valley it's not that far from San Antonio. Surely the people in San Antonio, at least the city leadership, have at least heard of what happened in Leon Valley. Yet it seems like the harassment that Josh has sustained from San Antonio has been even worse than what happened in Leon Valley. So I'm curious about your take on just municipalities not seeing what happens here or there and like deciding which battles they want to fight. It seems like this is just an obvious thing that you would look at what happened in Leon Valley as, a leader of San Antonio and say, hey, let's not have that happen to us. But the exact opposite appears to be happening in real time. So just what's your thoughts on that?
It comes down first and foremost with the police officer that's out there making that decision. And these police officers are taught, it doesn't matter which department they're with, they are taught that their decisions are going to be protected. And even if they're wrong, the system's going to protect them with qualified immunity. So that's the hurdle in every incident or interaction with the public, as long as it's not egregious. And unfortunately, I don't think that city leaders are viewing the interactions here as egregious or anything that warrants any real attention. And it's going to have to be something, the only way you get it to change is either public pressure, which there may not be enough of right now. The other option is you file a lawsuit and hopefully a judge allows you to hold them accountable and present the story to a jury. But until you get to that point, if the public doesn't care and they're not in front of a jury, what reason do they have to care? That's how I see it.
So Lakey stopped waiting on the courts and took it to the only people who could actually change it. He started a petition asking the city to stop treating sidewalk chalk as a crime, and as of this recording, more than 6,000 people have signed it. Lakey also started making his concerns known in the right places. According to his own count, he has stood at the public comment podium in front of San Antonio City Council around 24 times, making the same case for sidewalk chalk in the most ordinary, by-the-book way that a citizen possibly can. And for a moment, it looked like it might work. Councilman Jalen McKee Rodriguez took up the cause and drafted a change to the ordinance that would have carved chalk out of the definition of graffiti. But to even reach a vote, the proposal needed other council members to sign on, and exactly one did. So the very obvious and simple fix that could have ended all of this never even made it to the floor. And the most ironic part of all of this is that the city will go out of its way to waste an obscene amount of resources washing Lakey's chalk art away, issuing him citations, and forcing him through the court process, while simultaneously refusing to acknowledge the poor city conditions, sanitation risks, and maintenance issues that his art is often designed to showcase. He's basically forcing the city to look at what it's ignoring, and instead of fixing what's actually wrong, they're finding the most ridiculous ways to criminalize the most innocent behavior you can possibly imagine. Lakey will even go out of his way to place his chalk art in areas where they are forced to clean the debris on top of it as the city pressure washes away his art. So at least something meaningful is accomplished with the resources that are being spent. But this story doesn't end there, and Lakey's most recent visit to the San Antonio City Council didn't go according to plan. At this point, Lakey was rightfully fed up with the fact that most of his time spent speaking at the podium was to the one or two members of City Council who even bothered to show up. He had attended the public meeting sessions several times, and no matter what he did, nothing changed. So when he got to the podium in November of 2025, he was determined to be heard.
This is my 21st time speaking in an unrecorded public comment session where many elected officials pay more attention to their phones than their constituents. Today, only the mayor and 2 council members are even here and minutes are not being recorded, and we were kept waiting 30 minutes. On May 15, 2023, I was unlawfully arrested by Jorge Breton for sidewalk chalk graffiti. Sergeant Chad Mandry warned Breton that taking me to jail for sidewalk chalk was grounds for a lawsuit. Breton moved forward anyway, which led to me getting an attorney in the city having to pay a $16,500 settlement and Breton getting demoted. I thought the win would finally bring police to respect my freedom of expression. While it did get Leon Valley Police Department to leave me alone, San Antonio law enforcement turned up the heat. I knew I had to speak at City Council public comment session. Surely the previous win would set precedent. Less than 2 weeks after speaking at City Hall under control of Ron Nierenberg, I got violently put in cuffs by Via Transit Police Officer Kevin Epps, badge 389, who was joined by Gonzalez and Homero Martinez, offense. 3 officers to issue a criminal mischief citation in a dirty and neglected part of Sook Car's District 1 for chalk. Sook Car is not here today. 2 days later, I would get arrested by Via Transit Officer Daniel Gomez, badge 390, in Terry Castillo's District 5, Cattleman Square, where the buildings have poop and pee stains, piles of feces, and drug paraphernalia litter the block across the street from the Via Centro Plaza. When I got out of jail 20-something hours later, they had pressure washed away the sidewalk chalk but left the health hazards. 2 months later, on the eve of anniversary of MLK's death, I was writing MLK quotes, and Officers Sanchez, Herrera, 1517, and Johnson, 1636, stopped to hassle me. Then the city used tax dollars pressure washed the quotes away during level 3 drought restrictions here in District 1 of Sook Car. A month later, on May 6th of 2024, Ronnie J. Ronhill, badge 1072, pulled up on me creating in Leon Valley. He told me, listen, I'm going to ID you, put you in cuffs, and take you in. Now you either get your shit and go, or we fucking go to jail for this and let them figure it out in the courts. On June 18, 2024, coverage by Fox's News 4 WAI had McManus making the claim that definition within a 17-year-old ordinance actually silently made sidewalk chalk equally as illegal as aerosol spray paint. Later coverage would mention how San Antonio spends over $1 million a year erasing graffiti. Earlier coverage would point out how fraud within San Antonio's abatement team. In San Antonio, you can find this in the City Municipal Code, Article 10, Section 21-280, or in Leon Valley, you can find the exact same wording in Article 8, Section 3-31. Just a reminder, Leon Valley is where I was unlawfully arrested for settlement. Paint stick or graffiti stick, and this is not a real thing. We're not keeping minutes. Y'all have silenced me. You made me wait 30 minutes. You can wait a couple of minutes. I'm trying to finish this.
Sir, your time is done.
This news coverage has tricked Google AI into believing this city's sidewalk chalk. You're dragging me away for freedom of expression. This is multiple times y'all city has taken me for freedom of expression. Violently dragging someone out for sidewalk chalk. For sidewalk chalk. This is our city, San Antonio. Freedom of expression away. No, relax. Y'all are grabbing me. Why are you grabbing me? Get your hands off of me. Relax. You trying to slip. You're gonna knock some shit down because let go of my shit. Let go. It's not yours.
Lakey claims that he was handcuffed and loaded into a police van where he sat for several minutes while the officers determined if the mayor wanted to file charges against him. He implies that he was eventually released, but directly claims that he was told he is now banned from speaking at the city council. For what it's worth, San Antonio has never given its side of the story to any of this, and I couldn't find a single news outlet that had ever reported that it happened at all. Now, by the time the officers carried Lakey out of that meeting, he had already beaten the charges in court again and again, gathered thousands of signatures, and stood at the same podium 24 times. But none of that stopped the citations from continuing to pile up. The most recent ones were written this past May and are still pending as I record this video. Almost 3 years after Leon Valley stood up and apologized for doing the very same thing. And it's interesting because his art, which is literally designed to disappear, has somehow become the only thing about him that won't. When you look at these two cities side by side, Leon Valley treated Lakey's art like a crime. They got caught doing it and they corrected course. They apologized, they backed off, and things have been quiet ever since. San Antonio, which is 20 minutes away, watched all of that happen and then turned around and did the same thing to the same guy. And you couldn't convince me that the city leaders of San Antonio didn't know about what had happened in Leon Valley. So that begs the question, who is responsible for a law written broadly enough to put a man in handcuffs for something children do on every driveway and public sidewalk in America? And what does it say about a city's priorities when it will spend more to scrub the art off the ground than to fix the neglected, broken spaces that the art was drawn to showcase? Leon Valley got sick, and it eventually took its medicine. San Antonio has now been caught with the same disease, and it had every opportunity to learn how to handle it from its neighbor, but so far it has refused the cure. Lakey's still out there drawing, his art is still disappearing the next time it rains, and the only thing anyone has managed to make permanent in this scenario is Lakey's arrest record.